Thomas Bennett sees her for the first time in seat 8B. Red coat, dark hair pulled back, reading a paperback with a yellow cover. He wouldn't remember her at all, except she looks exactly like Sarah Winters. Exactly. Same angle of her jaw, same way she tucks hair behind her left ear. But Sarah Winters died 6 years ago. Thomas knows because he was there. Well, he was nearby, in the parking lot. He heard the screams. He could have helped. He didn't. Probably just coincidence. Common features. Lots of women have dark hair. Thomas looks away, focuses on his phone. When he looks back 3 minutes later, she's in seat 12A, across the aisle, same red coat, same book, yellow cover, but she was in 8B. Thomas counts the rows. 8B is 4 rows ahead. He can see it. Empty now. He blinks. Looks at 12A. She's reading. Hasn't moved. Hasn't looked up. The Greyhound number 1313 rolls through Ohio darkness at 2:47 a.m., and Thomas realizes he can't remember the last time he blinked. Have you ever seen someone who looked too much like someone from your past? Someone you tried to forget? Drop your experience in the comments, and if you want to know what happens when your guilt follows you onto a bus at 2:47 a.m., make sure you're subscribed, because every seat on this bus has a passenger, and they're all her. 14 hours earlier, Thomas bought his ticket at the Cleveland terminal. Counter agent barely looked at him. Columbus, one way, $34. Normal transaction, normal day. Except Thomas hasn't been to Columbus in 6 years. Not since Sarah Winters. Not since the trial. Not since they ruled it accidental. Not since Thomas stood in that courtroom and said nothing. Nothing about what he saw. Nothing about what he could have prevented. The jury said not guilty about someone else, some drunk driver who wasn't even there. But Thomas knew. The parking lot, the argument, the push, the way her head hit the concrete. And Thomas, 50 feet away, getting into his car, driving away. 6 years of not sleeping right. 6 years of seeing her face in crowds. And now the detective who handled the case, retired Detective Morrison, sent him a letter. Need to discuss the Winters case, new evidence, meet me in Columbus. So here's Thomas, getting on the 9:30 p.m. Greyhound, last bus of the night. He chooses seat 16D window, back section, away from people. There are maybe 12 other passengers. The woman in the red coat boards last. Thomas watches her walk down the aisle. She passes his row, sits in 8B, 4 rows ahead, diagonal sight line. Thomas can see the back of her head. Dark hair, red coat. She opens a book. Yellow cover. He can't read the title from here. Thomas tries not to stare. Probably going to Columbus too. Probably completely normal person who looks like someone who died 6 years ago. Coincidence? Has to be. The driver, older black man, name tag says R. Phillips announces departure. Columbus, 3 hours, 1 stop in Mansfield. Engine rumbles, bus pulls out. Thomas watches the terminal lights fade. He checks his phone. 9:47 p.m., right on schedule. He leans back, tries to sleep, can't. Keeps seeing the back of her head. Red coat, dark hair, just like Sarah's. Finally, he closes his eyes, breathes, counts to 10. When he opens them, she's moved. Seat 11A. 3 rows ahead now, across the aisle. Same red coat, same hair, same yellow book. Thomas sits up straight. She was in 8B. He saw her, didn't he? He looks at 8B, empty. No one there, no coat on the seat, no book. But she didn't walk past him. He would have seen. The aisle is narrow. You can't miss someone walking. Thomas stares. She turns the page, hasn't looked up, hasn't acknowledged him. Maybe he fell asleep. Maybe she moved while he dozed. Except he wasn't asleep. He was counting. 10 seconds. She couldn't have moved in 10 seconds. Could she? Thomas checks his phone. 10:03 p.m., 16 minutes since departure. He looks ahead. Woman in red coat, seat 11A, still reading. He decides to test something. He stares at her. Doesn't blink. Counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. She's in 14C. 2 rows ahead. Window seat. Other side. Same coat. Same hair. Same book. Thomas didn't blink. He was counting. He was watching. She didn't walk. She didn't move. She's just there, in a different seat. Thomas feels his pulse in his throat. He closes his eyes. Hard. Opens. She's still in 14C, reading. Page turning normal. He looks at 11A. Empty. He looks at 14C. Red coat. This is exhaustion. He didn't sleep last night. Anxiety about meeting Morrison, about the Winters case, about what new evidence means. Sleep deprivation causes hallucinations, visual tracking errors. He's just tired. At 10:19 p.m., Thomas counts passengers. Something to do. Keep mind occupied. He starts from the front. Row 2, older man sleeping. Row 3, empty. Row 4, teenager with headphones. Row 5, empty. Row 6, middle-aged woman. Row 8, no one, where red coat started. Row 11, no one. Row 12, businessman with laptop. Row 14, red coat. Row 16, himself, plus driver. That's 7 passengers. No. Wait, he counts again. Front to back. Older man, teenager, middle-aged woman, businessman, red coat, him. 6 passengers plus driver, 7 people on the bus. That's right. Except Thomas sees movement. Back row, seat, 19B. Someone standing up, stretching. Red coat, dark hair. Thomas freezes. But red coat is in seat 14C. He can see her. She's there. Reading. So who's in 19B? The woman in 19B sits down, opens a book, yellow cover. Thomas turns to look at 14C. Still there. Red coat, reading. He looks back at 19B, red coat, reading. 2. There are 2. Thomas stands up, walks forward slowly. Row 19, he passes. Glances. Red coat, dark hair, Sarah's face. He keeps walking. Row 14, stops, looks down. Red coat, dark hair, Sarah's face. The exact same face. He looks back at 19, still there. He counts passengers again. Older man, teenager, middle-aged woman, businessman, red coat in 14, red coat in 19. Himself, 8. 8 people now, but there were 7, no, 6, before. Or Thomas sits back down. His hands are shaking. It's the lighting, shadows. He's seeing double. Eye fatigue. That's a real thing. Diplopia. He Googles it on his phone. Double vision causes migraine, exhaustion, brain tumor. He closes the browser. At 10:34 p.m. the bus stops. Mansfield 10 minutes, driver announces. Everyone can stretch, use restroom, get food. Thomas doesn't move. Watches. Older man gets off. Teenager gets off. Middle-aged woman stays. Businessman stays. Red coat in seat 14 gets up. Walks toward exit. Thomas watches her pass. She doesn't look at him. He sees her face. It's Sarah. Exactly Sarah. Same scar above her right eyebrow from when she was 9, fell off a bike. Thomas knows because Sarah told him. 6 years ago, when they were friends, before the parking lot, before the argument that wasn't his business, before he drove away. Red coat exits the bus. Thomas counts to 5, stands, follows. Outside Mansfield rest stop. Fluorescent lights, few cars. He sees her, walking toward the building. Red coat bright under lights. He follows. She enters. He waits. 30 seconds. Enters. It's a small building. Restrooms, vending machines, closed coffee counter. 3 people inside. Teenager from bus, truck driver, and no red coat. Thomas checks women's restroom door. Closed. He waits. 2 minutes. Door opens. Middle-aged woman from bus comes out. Not red coat. Thomas checks the building. No one else. No exits except the way he came in. Where did she go? He goes back outside. Scans the parking lot. No red coat. He walks to the bus. Boards. Looks at seat 14C. Red coat. Sitting. Reading. Yellow book. She never left. Except Thomas saw her leave. Watched her exit. Followed her. Unless he didn't? Unless she never left and he hallucinated it? Thomas sits down heavily. His phone shows 10:41 p.m. 7 minutes passed. He remembers all 7. Walking, following, searching, but she's here, reading, like she never moved. At 11:02 p.m., Thomas hears her speak. Quietly. He can't make out words, just murmur, like she's reading aloud, whispering. He leans forward, listens. The voice is familiar. He knows that voice. Didn't have to be like this. Whisper, whisper. You could have helped. Whisper. You were right there. Thomas feels ice in his stomach. Those words. He knows those words. Sarah said them. In the parking lot, 6 years ago. Thomas wasn't supposed to hear. He was getting in his car. But he heard. She was arguing with someone. You could have helped. You were right there. Then sounds, scuffle, thud. Thomas drove away. He tells himself he didn't know, didn't understand. But he knew. He heard. And he drove away. All you had to do was look. The whisper continues. Thomas stands, walks towards seat 14C. He needs to, what? Confront her? Ask her who she is? The whisper stops. He reaches her row, looks down. Empty. Seat 14C is empty. No coat, no book, no person. Thomas spins. Looks around. Seat 19B, red coat. Reading. Seat 11A, red coat. Reading. Seat 6D, red coat. Reading. Seat 8B, red coat. Reading. 4. 4 of them now. 4 women. 4 red coats. 4 yellow books. 4 Sarah Winters faces. Thomas backs away, hits a seat, stumbles, catches himself, looks again. All 4 still there. All reading, none looking at him. He walks back to 16D, sits, breathes, counts. 1, 2, 3. When he reaches 10, he looks up. 5 red coats now. 1 in 3A. Thomas closes his eyes, keeps them closed. This isn't real. This isn't happening. Guilt-induced psychosis, stress hallucination, carbon monoxide in the bus. Something. Anything. Except ghosts. Because ghosts aren't real. Sarah Winters is dead, and Thomas isn't crazy. At 11:23 p.m. they all speak, in unison, soft, synchronized. Thomas Bennett, August 14th, 2018, Palmer Street parking lot, 11:47 p.m. Thomas jerks his head up. They're not looking at him, all 5, sitting in different seats reading their books but speaking. Together, same voice, Sarah's voice. You heard everything, the argument, the threats, the push, the sound of her head hitting pavement. Thomas wants to scream, to run, but the bus is moving. Highway darkness outside, 60 miles per hour, no stops until Columbus. You saw him standing over her, checking for pulse, running. You saw his face. You could have identified him, but you drove away. The businessman from seat 12 looks up, stares at Thomas. What are they saying? He asks. The who? Thomas manages. I don't hear anything, businessman says. He looks concerned. You okay, man? Thomas looks at the red coats, all 5 still speaking, synchronized. August 19th, 2018, police interview. Did you see anything unusual that night? No, officer. Nothing. Lie. August 20th, 2018, second interview. Were you near Palmer Street around 11:45 p.m.? I left around 11:30. Didn't see anyone. Lie. September 3rd, 2018. Trial. Prosecution asks for witnesses. You stay silent. Lie. By omission. I don't, Thomas says out loud. Businessman is still staring. Don't what? Thomas realizes he's responding to the voices. The businessman can't hear them. Only Thomas can. Nothing, Thomas says. Sorry. Tired. Businessman nods slowly. Goes back to laptop. Looks uncomfortable. The voices continue. October 12th, 2018. Case closed. Accidental death. No witnesses, no suspect, no justice. And you sleep every night knowing. Thomas stands up, walks to the driver. How long to Columbus? Driver checks display. Hour 20. You okay, son? Can we stop? I need to get off. Next stop is Columbus. Terminal. I need off now. Driver's eyes flick to the mirror. seeing Thomas's face. "Sir, I can't stop on the highway. Safety regulations. Columbus. 1 hour 18 minutes. Thomas walks back. Passes seat 6D, red coat. Sarah's face looks up, makes eye contact. First time. Her eyes are exactly like he remembers. Brown. Flecks of gold. She smiles. Sad smile. Disappointed. Like a teacher who expected better. "You were my friend, Tommy," she says, out loud, clear, just to him. Thomas stumbles, keeps walking, back to 16D, sits, puts head in hands, counts, breathes. When he looks up, every seat has a red coat, every single seat except his and the driver's. 12 identical women, all reading yellow books, all with Sarah's face. At 11:49 p.m., the books close. All 12, simultaneously. They all look at him. 12 pairs of brown eyes, 12 sad smiles. They speak. "Do you remember what the book was about?" Thomas doesn't understand. "The book I was reading that summer, before. Do you remember?" Thomas does remember. They'd gotten coffee, July 2018, Sarah showed him. "It's about guilt," she'd said, "about a hit and run, about witnesses who don't come forward, about how silence is complicity." She'd laughed. "Morbid, right? But it's really good." She'd shown him the cover. Yellow, bold black text. "The Passenger," by someone. Thomas couldn't remember the author. He'd nodded. Said something about wanting to borrow it when she finished. That was 6 weeks before the parking lot, before August 14th, before everything. "You remember," the 12 Sarahs say. "I told you the ending." The witness finally confesses, 20 years later. But the driver is dead. The victim's family has moved on. The confession doesn't bring justice, just more pain, just proof that someone could have helped, and didn't. Thomas feels tears. He didn't cry at her funeral, didn't let himself. But now, "I didn't know," he says out loud. "I didn't know it was serious. I didn't know someone died until the next day. I didn't—" "You knew something was wrong," they say. "You heard her scream. You heard the sound. You knew. And you chose to protect yourself, chose not to get involved, chose to drive away. Because getting involved is messy, being a witness is complicated, and you had work the next morning." That's true, all true. Thomas had work, early meeting. He'd told himself he didn't hear anything serious, just a couple arguing. Just noise, not his business. People argue in parking lots, it's fine, everything's fine. He drove home, set his alarm, slept, woke up, went to work, heard about Sarah Winters at lunch. Local woman found dead in parking lot, police investigating. He'd seen her picture, recognized her immediately, felt his stomach drop, felt panic, and then decided not to say anything. Because what could he really contribute? He didn't see the actual incident, just heard sounds. That's not evidence, that's not helpful. That would just complicate his life, he convinced himself over and over, until he almost believed it. At 12:04 a.m. the driver speaks, without turning, without looking at Thomas. "She visits everyone, you know." Thomas freezes. "The guilty ones, the ones who could have stopped something, who chose not to. She's patient, waits years sometimes, waits until they almost forget. Then," driver gestures around the bus. "This." "Who are you?" Thomas asks. Driver laughs. Quiet, sad. "I'm Raymond Phillips. Drove this route for 30 years, and 12 years ago I saw a man beating his girlfriend at a rest stop. Didn't call police, didn't intervene, told myself it wasn't my business. She died 3 days later, different state, different jurisdiction. I thought I was safe." He taps the steering wheel. "Now I drive this bus, same route, every night, and she's always here, different face, but same message, same guilt." Thomas looks around. The businessman is gone. The teenager is gone. The middle-aged woman is gone. When did they leave? The bus is empty, except for Thomas, the driver, and 12 red coats. "They left at Mansfield," driver says. "Didn't you notice? It's just us now. Just the guilty, just the witnesses, just the people who knew better." Thomas checks his phone. 12:04 a.m. But that's impossible. They left Cleveland at 9:30 p.m. Mansfield's stop was maybe 30 minutes. It's been less than 3 hours. But his phone says 12:04. Midnight. Time works different on this route, driver says. When she's aboard, minutes stretch, hours compress. We arrive when we're supposed to, but the journey is longer for us. I want off, Thomas says. Columbus is coming, driver replies. 20 minutes, that's what it always is, 20 minutes. Sometimes it takes 3 hours to get through those 20 minutes. Sometimes 3 days. Depends on what you need to confess. I have nothing to confess. All 12 Sarahs laugh, soft, synchronized. Liar, they say. Thomas walks to the front, stands next to the driver. This isn't real. I'm having a breakdown, stress-induced psychosis. I'm going to wake up and what? Driver asks. Be innocent? Be clean? You think this is punishment? Son, this is mercy. She's giving you a chance. A chance for what? To say it out loud, to admit what you did, what you didn't do, to stop lying, even if it's just to yourself, even if it's just to her. Driver nods toward the seats. Thomas turns. The 12 red coats are gone. One remains. Seat 8B, where she started. Sarah Winters sits there, real, solid, not multiplied, just her. She's not reading anymore, she's looking at him. Hi, Tommy, she says. Her voice is exactly right, exactly how he remembers. Warm, slightly teasing, the way she'd greet him. I'm sorry, Thomas says. His voice cracks. I'm sorry I didn't help. I'm sorry I didn't tell police. I'm sorry I let them rule it accidental. I'm sorry I protected myself instead of getting you justice. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sarah stands, walks toward him. Thomas can't move. She stops 3 feet away, close enough that he can see the details. The scar above her eyebrow, the freckle on her left cheek, the way her nose wrinkles slightly. All the tiny things that made her Sarah. Do you know who killed me? She asks. Thomas nods. I saw him. I saw his face. I could identify him. And will you? Thomas hesitates. That's the question. That's always been the question. Coming forward now means admitting he lied, means potential charges, obstruction of justice, perjury if they consider his silence a lie under oath, means destroying his life, his reputation, everything. I don't know, Thomas says. Honest, finally. I don't know if I'm strong enough. Sarah smiles, same sad smile. At least you're honest about that. She reaches out, touches his arm. Her hand is cold, or his arm is cold, he can't tell. The detective who contacted you, Morrison, he knows about you, about what you saw. That's the new evidence. Security footage from the parking lot shows your car, shows you sitting there, shows you watching, shows you leaving. He's giving you a chance to come forward voluntarily. Before he forces the issue, Thomas feels his knees weaken. How do you... I'm dead, Tommy. I know things now. Things I shouldn't. Things that blur. But I know this. Morrison is waiting for you in Columbus with a choice. Confess or be exposed. I can't, Thomas whispers. I can't destroy my life. Your life, Sarah says. What about mine? What about my family's? What about justice? I know. You just want it to not be your problem. Still, even now, even after everything. Sarah steps back. The bus will arrive. Columbus, terminal. Morrison will be there. And you'll choose. Same choice you made 6 years ago. Same choice you make every day. I can't make you be brave, Tommy. I can only show you what cowardice looks like. She gestures around the bus. This, forever. Me in every seat, every trip you take, every time you close your eyes, because guilt doesn't fade, it multiplies, until it's everywhere, until it's everyone, until you can't tell what's real anymore. Thomas opens his eyes. Bright lights, white ceiling. Hospital? No. Hotel room. A hotel room in Columbus. He sits up, breathes. Looks around. Standard room. Generic art, TV, bathroom. His suitcase by the door. He checks his phone. 7:15 a.m. Wednesday. The bus was Tuesday night. He looks at his call log. Last call, Mom, Monday. He checks messages. One from Morrison. Confirmed for Wednesday 10 a.m. Precinct, don't be late. Sent Monday. Thomas stands, goes to bathroom, splashes water on face, looks in mirror. Tired, dark circles, but normal. He's in Columbus. He made it. The bus was a nightmare? He checks his phone again. Calendar shows Tuesday as travel day Cleveland to Columbus. No details. He tries to remember, buying the ticket, getting on bus, the woman in red coat, the multiplications, the confessions. Sarah. It felt so real. But he's here, in a hotel. He made it. Must have been exhaustion, stress, anxiety dreams. He gets dressed. 9:30 a.m. He takes a rideshare to the precinct. Morrison is waiting. Older man, grey hair, stern face. They sit in an interview room. Morrison slides a folder across the table. Security footage, Morrison says. Palmer Street parking lot, August 14th, 2018, 11:43 p.m. to 11:52 p.m. He opens it. Still photos. Time stamped. 11:43, Thomas's car entering lot. 11:44, Thomas parking. 11:46, a figure, Sarah, walking toward her car. 11:47, another figure approaching her, arguing. 11:49, the push, Sarah falling, head hitting pavement. 11:50, the figure, face visible, clear, checking her, then running. 11:51, Thomas's car, still parked, headlights on, Thomas inside, looking. 11:52, Thomas's car leaving. You saw, Morrison says, not a question. Thomas looks at the photos, at his car, at himself, watching, leaving, at Sarah, dying. I saw, Thomas says, finally, out loud, to someone who matters. I saw everything. Morrison nods. The man in the photos. We identified him through other means, caught him on an unrelated charge. He confessed to manslaughter. He's serving 8 years. But, Morrison leans forward. Sarah's family sued the city. Inadequate lighting, negligent security. They lost because there were no witnesses. No one to corroborate that a crime occurred at that exact location. Just the body. If they'd known you saw, if you'd come forward, they would have won. Sarah's daughter would have her college fund. Sarah's mother would have closure. Thomas feels tears again. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't change the past, Morrison says. But testimony can change the future. I'm reopening the wrongful death civil case. I need you to testify, officially, on record, what you saw, when you saw it, why you didn't come forward. Will I be charged? Morrison pauses. Possibly. Obstruction. The DA will decide. But between us, you come forward now, testify honestly, help Sarah's family. That counts for something. You stay silent, this footage becomes public. Your name becomes public. You become the man who watched someone die and drove away. Your choice. Thomas looks at the photos, at Sarah, at himself. Same choice, different context. Confess or hide. Be brave or be a coward. He thinks about the bus, about 12 red coats, about voices saying you could have helped, about Sarah's sad smile. I'll testify, Thomas says. I'll tell them everything. Morrison nods, stands, extends hand. Thomas shakes it. They discuss details, dates, lawyers, process. Thomas leaves the precinct at 11:30 a.m., walks to a coffee shop, orders, sits, looks at his phone, email from the bus company. Subject, Greyhound trip confirmation, Cleveland to Columbus. He opens it. Date, Tuesday. Departure, 9:30 p.m. Arrival, 12:47 a.m., Wednesday. Bus, 21:13. Seat, 16D. He rode the bus. It wasn't a dream. But the women? The multiplication? The voices? He searches his photos. Nothing from Tuesday night. He checks his credit card. Charge, TA truck stop, Mansfield, OH. Tuesday 10:38 p.m. 4:50. He bought something at Mansfield. The stop was real, the bus was real, but the red coats? Thomas finishes his coffee, stands to leave, and sees her, across the street, red coat, dark hair, walking away, Sarah's build, Sarah's walk. Thomas freezes. She turns a corner, disappears. He tells himself it's coincidence. Lots of women have red coats. He tells himself he's seeing things. Stress, lack of sleep. But he knows deep down, he knows. She's still there. Not in every seat anymore. Not 12 of her, just one. Real, solid, watching, making sure he follows through, making sure he doesn't change his mind, making sure he finally does what he should have done 6 years ago. Thomas walks back to his hotel. On his bed he finds something. A book. Yellow cover. The Passenger by Lisa Lutz. He picks it up, opens to the first page, handwritten note in the margin. Sarah's handwriting. He recognizes it. Tommy, you were right. This is morbid, but it's about doing the right thing, even when it's hard, even when it costs you. I hope if you ever face that choice, you're braver than the characters in this book. S. Dated July 17th, 2018. 4 weeks before she died. Thomas never borrowed this book. Sarah died before she could lend it to him. So how is it here? In his hotel room in Columbus? Thomas sits on the bed, holds the book, and wonders, is he awake? Is he in Columbus, or is he still on the bus? Still in seat 16D, still trapped in those 20 minutes that stretch forever, still riding toward a confession he might never make. He looks at the window. In the reflection he sees a bus seat, red upholstery, dim lighting, and behind him in the reflection a woman in a red coat, reading, smiling, waiting. Thomas turns quickly. The hotel room is empty. Just him, just the book, just the choice. He looks back at the reflection. Normal now. Hotel room himself, nothing else, probably nothing else. Thomas Bennett testified on October 3rd, 2024. He told the truth, all of it. Sarah's family won their case. Thomas was charged with obstruction, plea deal, 200 hours community service, probation. His name appeared in newspapers. He lost some friends, gained perspective. He doesn't sleep perfectly, but he sleeps better than before. Except sometimes, on bad nights, Thomas dreams of a bus, and a woman in a red coat, and 12 seats, and voices that know every lie he ever told. And he wonders, was any of it real? Was Sarah really on that bus? Or was his guilt so heavy it invented her? Gave her voice, gave her presence, made her real? Does it matter? Maybe guilt is its own haunting. Maybe conscience is the ghost we create. Maybe the most terrifying thing isn't what's outside. It's what's inside. What we know, what we carry, what we can't escape. No matter how fast we drive away. Do you think Thomas really saw her? Or did his mind create her to force a confession? Drop your theory in the comments. And if you've ever been faced with a choice, to speak up or stay silent, tell us what you did. Hit like if this story made you question what's real. Subscribe because next week we're boarding another bus. Different route, different passenger. Same question. What happens when the journey forces you to face what you've been running from? Sometimes the scariest trips aren't to new places. They're back to old choices. And sometimes the passenger sitting next to you isn't a stranger. She's everyone you've ever wronged. In every seat, reading every secret, speaking every truth you tried to bury, and the bus doesn't stop until you confess. Or maybe it never stops at all.